Welcome back, friends. It's another episode of the Mindful CEO. I'm your co-host, Chris Angell, joined by our other co-host, Aaron Hendon. Hello, Aaron,
What's
sir.
up, Chris? Good
Good to see you.
afternoon, good morning, good evening. Hello.
We got a great guest today.
We do. We're back to guest land. I think we got a
Yes.
good run of guests coming up now. So for the listeners, you're not going to have to listen to me and Chris just ramble
Oh, come on. Don't throw me under the
independently.
bus.
I know. I know. You'll be longing for us to ramble. We got some really great guests, including this week, Hilda Fainsod. Yeah? Fainsod?
Yeah, Fainsod.
Good,
Yeah,
yay.
yeah.
She is an executive coach and an author and a delight. And we're going to just really get into it with her about mindfulness and about our ability to stay in the present, uh, the advantages of that, and obviously the disadvantages of losing ourselves in the past or the future. And Hilda, why don't you take a couple minutes and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and how you got to be an executive coach and an author and making the kind of difference in the world that you're making now.
Okay, thank you guys for having me here. I love to focus on being mindful. So that is because I'm a coach. I coach top executives, leaders, entrepreneurs. I coach people that they want to commit to a better self, to better shape, more improved way of being. And I began coaching because I usually train people. In my past, more than 20 years ago, I trained. I train in skills, in core skills, but finally I decided to train in coaching. And once I was in a holiday with my kids in the pool, in the swimming pool, and my oldest asked me, what do I want for the next year? And it's amazing to create those conversations with our kids. So I said, gosh, thank you for that question, because it allowed me to reflect in what do I want. And I'm wondering why I teach coaching, but I'm not a coach. And with that question in my head, I began January back from vacations and defined to train myself in coaching. So I have 10 different certifications because I found there is an impact, because the impossible becomes possible, because something that you don't think you are going to do or you don't think you are capable to do, when you do, and it changes the way you look or you behave or you act or the results or who you are, it is a great impact, and I am a witness of that. So love the coaching career that I have and the opportunity to support others.
That's
That's
great.
so good.
Yay. And you live now where?
Yes. I live in Mexico City. I do have a son in Mexico and another in Spain. So I usually spend part of my life in Spain and part of my life in Mexico, because the coaching became, through COVID, became an online business.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
know in the States it is an online business, but it didn't happen in Mexico. So it becomes online. So wherever I am, I can coach others and I can travel and work. So it's the best of two worlds.
There you
So I
go.
love it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
I know
great.
one of the things we talked about, Aaron, on the show a lot is, or at least have talked, is happiness. I know
Mhm.
you have a special place for the conversation of happiness. I know, Hilda, you, in the green room, we were talking about your own thoughts on happiness. I'd be curious to hear sort of your take on the connection maybe between happiness and performance, because
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
a direct connect. So I wonder sort of you could walk us through that.
No, usually it's not a connection in between these two so great words and concepts. I work with executive, with top executive, with hyperachievers, the one that have OKR or KPIs or results or productivity or so many measures, and they focus on results and business. And outcomes. And that is the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the focus in the company. And that's okay. You are hired because you need to deliver, right?
Yep.
But if you put a connection in between happiness to not only performance, you make more balanced people that can enjoy life, that they recall to put balance in moments of disbalance,
Mm.
that they can, it's not a 50-50. That's crazy. It doesn't happen, but it's those moments where I'm overwhelmed and overboard, those moments to put also well-being and a breathing, a walking, and enjoying
Mm-hmm.
life, a meaning, a purpose, an intention, and feeling committed, not only obligate to deliver results.
And Hilda, what do you, so, as a coach, what are the actions you specifically coach them to take to bring those spaces present in those moments,
Yeah,
the heat of the moment? What what do you tell them to do?
yeah, and I'm smiling because I remember my clients and the facial expression when I said, "Okay, hold on a minute and breathe," and they were like, "I'm breathing." No, not that kind of breathing. An intentional breathe where you can release your tension and let's go to the conversation of what matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great place to start.
Hmm.
Is that meaningful, relevant? It's important. Your future self will thank you for or not, because maybe it's a great project. Is going to make a difference? Or what needs to have to make a difference and to allow us to grow and enjoy and be creative and put something meaningful in the company, in the world?
Mm-hmm.
What matters to you?
Do you find that when you work with executives that that's an immediate answer? Do you feel like
Oh
they know what
no.
matters to them?
No, it's really quite complicated.
Mm-hmm.
When I begin to ask that, they begin like, uh,
Mm-hmm.
mm, mm, tell me again the question because I don't get
Right.
it.
I can't hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not an immediate question. And I always say, okay, let's stay for a moment in the question.
Mhm.
You don't need an immediate answer. You need just to think about meaning and purpose and relevance. And I use different words to
Mm-hmm.
do that. And
Mhm.
I do have a friend that he has two job opportunities. And he was like, okay, how many days of holidays and payment and bonuses? And I said, hold on,
Mm.
what do you want in your next step in your career? And he was like, what are you asking that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, because you are 48 years and you are an adult. And he said, I never asked myself before that question.
Wow.
Yeah, and the last
So,
time, mostly we don't get asked what do we want after
mhm.
about age 12.
After 12. And even if we were asked that question, Aaron, people don't listen to the answer
Right.
or
They're
draw
not
out more
actually
than the
really
first answer.
interested. Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right. And we
right,
just give up
right.
on what we want. And, which is why also when your son asked you, what do you want for this year? I
Mm.
just had that experience at breakfast. I just celebrated a birthday and the, we were having brunch as a group and someone asked me, what do I want for this year?
Wow,
And it's
great.
just such the same question your son asked. And my answer sort of shocked me because, Chris, you'll appreciate this because this is, very much a function of the work that I've been doing in gratitude. And, but my answer was authentically, and it was a little surprising to me, was more of what I have. I just want more of this. I want more
Mm,
community.
mm,
I want more time with my friends. I want more music festivals.
mm,
I just, what I have is so delicious. I would just love to have more of this. I don't really need anything
Wow.
outside of this. And, you know, I mean, keep doing, I'd like this to keep going. And that, Hilda, is a
Hmm.
fun, that, you know, that's not a historically normal way for me to respond. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I might want to have
Hmm.
responded that way, and I've known it's a good idea to respond that way, and it's sort of the Instagram gratitude good thing to think about. But it was actually there for me, and
mm,
it's a, you know, and Hilda, every single thing you're pointing to is every single thing that Chris and I, and really frankly every coach who has a head on their shoulders about what's important, you know,
mm.
from Simon Sinek down to any, you know, all the way down to, you know, Chris and I, really, that world of like the dozens of listeners,
Yeah.
um,
Shut up.
you know, are promoting, you know, an idea that you know, no one is on their deathbed thinking about the sale they didn't close.
Mhm. I listened at your answer, and your answer showed fulfillment.
Yeah.
Mm,
And not very much people can say that they have a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
mm.
So
Uh,
again, not only performance,
Right.
also happiness.
Right.
Wow.
And because I think we tend to strive for performance. I mean, I know this was true for me, and it was, is, I don't know, whatever, goes in and out. Um, you know, the big game of hustle culture to get all the stuff is to
Oh, yeah.
somehow get that stuff will fulfill us. That's the point of the stuff, is to perform at a level where I will have enough to either not worry or be fulfilled or both. And that literally cannot happen. You cannot get enough stuff to be happy. You just cannot. The nature of happiness
It's not there.
is not there. That's not the, you know, you know, there's the momentary happiness of achieving that, but then there's the emptiness of, okay, well, that's
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Yeah, sure.
So without your questions to those executives, and without their willingness to look and tell the hard truth about it for themselves, like, what is it that I do want? What do I
Yeah.
want? What
What are
does
the
Mhm.
questions
matter?
that you ask, Hilda, or how, processes you will work with executives on for happiness? Like, how do you get them to?
Yeah.
Um, I guess happiness is one word you could say, like to
Yeah.
whatever else is in that space. But yeah,
Whatever fulfillment and
fulfillment, right? Yeah.
satisfaction and
Uh-huh.
a plenty life. And so I asked them, how many hours do you work? And
Hmm.
how could you say you balance between all those needs and performance results that you need to deliver, and being connected with yourself and your family and your free time, whatever you want to use it in any way. So the questions about how do you balance that? There are so many hours, and sometimes I make a joke when they say I finish at 11 o'clock at night because the report, the commit, committee, whatever. And I said, okay, we are not going to talk about balance today. And they begin to laugh.
Uh-huh.
So how are you going to balance your life? Because if this is a one time, okay, happened. But if this is common,
Mm-hmm. Right.
what is going to be the price you are
Mm.
going to pay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
you know, this came, I don't remember where this came up, but I somehow I just started thinking about head coaches and football teams.
Mm.
And, you know, those guys work, you know, during the season, that's pretty much 5 a.m. to midnight, 6 days a week, that kind of, it's that kind of a life for 6 months. And then, it's a job, it's for sure a full-time career, and you get compensated really well. But there's a passion there and an agreement with the family that this is, no one becomes an NFL football head coach overnight. It's a lifetime, they probably played as a child. This is their entire life has been inside this, leading to this. It's been a fulfillment of something. It's fulfilling to them to lead young men. It's the whole connection to it, and the family unit is aligned with this is the life that we're living, not unlike so there's I think it's important to look, is that executive that's working till 11, is there, that may be balanced for them. There's no inherently not balanced. It's if it's the fulfillment of something that matters to them and the family is aligned, and the place it holds in their life has alignment to it. It's not the 11 p.m. part. It's the 11 p.m. and I have the experience that I'm selling out and I'm missing my kids, whatever. And that's not, and I keep like borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. Like I'm not present to the experience that I'm choosing for myself. And I just think it's, that when I hear 11 p.m., I'm like, yeah, if you were passionate and you were, if you were an NFL coach, you would do that, but it would be completely consistent with who you were. So I don't think it's the 11 p.m. part. I don't know why I went on that little rant, but that was there for me to go on.
Yeah, but it is quite interesting because those that sell themselves 6 months to be just so busy and so crazy in schedules, they need also to find out this time of recovery, rest, and put themselves in the best place of self-care. Also to have a dopamine list of how in those moments I can have this feeling of giving myself a rest or a joy in a music, in a moment of walking with the family, in a conversation with my kids, something
Intentional.
intentional, that will balance the moments of disbalance.
I was talking about, go ahead, Chris.
Well, the thing about, I think that's the exception, not the norm. I think most people are hustling in order to get somewhere versus hustling because it's a fulfillment of something. And I think, but I also think if you're doing it well, there's going to be an existential moment where you're like, this isn't fulfilling anymore. Like I keep working till 11 and what's it all for? And I'm like, I can't say like Aaron said, what do I want? I just want more of what I have. They're like, no, I want the opposite. Like I want space, I want time, I want freedom. And I think it's in those moments that 11, they're going to come up against the, I don't know what I want. Like, oh crap. It's not, I climbed the ladder. Now that I've climbed the ladder, it's not fulfilling. And it used to be fulfilling to chase it. I liked that. That was fun. And now
not anymore.
Not anymore. So now I'm like lost. I'm lost. I'm like, what do I do now?
Right.
Yeah. And I love those questions. And I ask my clients to keep with the question, no matter how old they are. Because you don't need and you don't think and you don't have the same motivations at your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, and plus. Because you change with the time and the age and the needs and motivations, and something that was so funny to chase and to grow and to jump is not anymore when you have 50s. Not that way. And not when you are 60s. So we change with the seasons of life, and we need to keep in the question to find out, if not anymore, what do I want to do and who do I want to become? And that is the best question we can have in our mind.
It's funny, my wife and I were just talking this morning. Our daughter, she's I guess she's 22. She'll be 22 this year.
Okay.
Um, and she's living with her girlfriend and was cooking in a restaurant and needed another job, and so she's taking a job as the night janitor at some office building. And she's been a janitor before when she was like 17. And my wife and I were, you know, like, okay, well, is she going to have more ambition than that in life? Is that going to be something that, is she going to wind up a janitor? Is this like a thing? We were encouraging her not to take the janitor job and find something else, mildly encouraging her. But we don't know the job situation in Bellingham and whatever. There's all kinds of detail. But when your kids are like that, and at the same time, standing where I'm standing now, I mean, I have a lot of different history, doing a lot of different things, and all the background I have. I'm just left with, okay, well, someone's got to be a janitor. I mean, there's nothing, if she's fulfilled in that, is that if that gives her the balance to spend time with her girlfriend and to do the things that she wants to do and earn the money that she wants to earn, and, aside from the obvious shitty judgment I have about janitors, the contempt that shows up with, like I'd rather she was a waitress. But there's those questions, like, okay, what is, is this, it doesn't have to lead someplace, but it sort of has to lead someplace. Like, what do I want to do with my life? So I just think, and she's 22, she'll figure it out and whatever. It's not like she's, my wife was sharing a funny anecdote with me this morning about her. Like when she was like 5, 7, 8, whatever, young, 8, let's just say 8. My wife walked into a gas station to pay, and the woman behind the counter was there, and she was sort of dressed rattly, and she had black teeth, and she worked like she looked like the stereotypical late night gas station convenience store clerk, like that look. And my daughter at 8 was like, "Oh, that looks so cool. I want to do that." Now she's 8, right? We don't think it now, but now she's a janitor, and we're like, okay, is this really her vision? Is this really what she's up to? So, there's, and I think that sort of there's in there is somewhere that tension between mindful and fulfillment and satisfaction and non-judgment and freedom and CEO and achievement and performance and like that. There's also that tension there, especially when it comes to our children.
Yeah, but is only a stage in life.
Say it again.
It's only a stage in
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
She will define the future and she will create possibilities. She is 22.
She's fine. I mean, yeah, neither of us are like concerned she's going to wind up as a convenience store clerk. But at the same time, that's so demeaning. That's so. I just got to double check my contempt and my highfalutenness, like a convenience store clerk. Like, no, someone does that. That's like a job. That's like, But usually those people own the convenience store. But which is a
Maybe
different.
she will.
Which is maybe she will. That could be a complete pathway for her. Anyway,
I do.
just
Yeah.
thinking
Well, I
about
just
that
think it's
tension.
interesting, Aaron, because it's you think about like the executive track and people going in towards I'm going to climb that ladder, and then and there's something driving that. Like is it getting approval from my parents? Because when I wanted to be a clerk, they didn't like that, so I'll show them and I'll climb the ladder and be successful. Or does it come from my own shame and guilt that I'm not good enough? So I'll prove to myself that I'm good enough and I'll become the CEO of the whatever. And I think if you just, or is it a power play? Like I was bullied as a kid. I'll never be bullied again. I'm going to be at the top. And I think if, not to drop a totally new topic in here, but there's some ideas around, what if money wasn't a thing anymore in the coming future? There's a book
Yeah.
called The Golden Future. There's some other ideas out circling right now about in the future where there's no money, then what is the point of being an executive if it's not for the money and the power? Then we sort of like then executiveness becomes just the self-expression and not a power play. It
Right.
becomes just, this is what I want to do, not me trying to prove anybody or please anybody.
Yeah, it goes back to the NFL
Oh,
coach that
yeah.
sees
Yeah.
himself as a leader of men,
Yeah.
you know, a leader of young men. Like that's his mission is to, you know, I know that was 100% true with Pete Carroll, who's the head coach of the was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks for many
Yeah.
years. And his whole raison d'etre, is that how you say it? Raison d'etre.
I don't know what that means. Purpose,
It's French
reason for a living.
yeah, reason for living.
Raison.
Raison d'etre was to develop young men.
Yeah.
That was his whole
Yeah.
purpose. Is his whole purpose, back to being a head coach.
I want to go back, Chris, to your reflection because I do have this reflection about if money would not be a problem and you have plenty of it, what are the 100 things you are going to buy or have or experience? Because money is not an issue. I remind you, money is not an issue. So people began to write all the things that they want about travel and things and cars and whatever. And I asked them after 100 to reduce to 10. Gosh, 10, yeah, to 10. And after that to 5. And after that, keep with 1. And usually you go to what matters most.
Yes.
And I remember putting in that exercise in my own reflection to give my kids the best education I can do.
Hmm.
Right.
So money, what matters in life? My kids and their possibilities and education. Okay, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
No one has on their bucket list something that can be bought on Amazon.
Mhm.
All right.
Their people's bucket
Yeah,
list
love it.
always has if it has anything, it might have one thing to purchase, but other than that, it's all experience. We
Yeah.
know inherently, empirically, experientially that what matters is the journey, and we
Yeah.
get trapped in the
And the
stuffness,
other.
distracted
Yeah.
by the stuffness, but and that's the discordance that we feel, that
Mm,
you know the separation we feel between being true to ourselves and the life that we wound up living is often that
yeah.
discordance, because we know at the heart
Mhm,
of it what
mhm.
matters is the journey.
Yeah. And I usually say to my clients, Aaron, that they can design the future they want to be, or they can live the future day by day by your agendas, appointments, all the stuff that is there that drives you, puts you into action, and you accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. But maybe it's not the place you want to be.
Yeah.
So you have the possibility of question yourself and define who do you want to become and design that future and walk towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. That's the way we play with that here. That idea is the idea of an intention. Not in the sort of the CEO
Mm,
context of intention. You ask them their intentions, and they're likely to give you their KPIs, their quarterly, yearly goals
yeah.
Right.
as their
Uh-huh.
intention. But
Uh-huh.
if they slow down and they really looked, the goals are different than intentions. That we look, my metaphor for it is it's intention is more like a bird, that if you hold it too tight, you're going to kill the bird. You can't hold it in your hands so tightly that you kill it. You got to let the bird fly away, and then the bird flies in a direction, and you can then move in that direction. You move towards the bird. And every day you step toward the bird, that's a win. That's like a real victory. That's a real accomplishment. You know, that you did fulfill your intention. You may not have all of it, but you've moved in that direction. That sort of goes back to that conversation I've been toying with about uh, how hard we are on ourselves. that I was thinking about. So this came up in the context of, so I teach a class, Hilda, called How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World. And it's a,
I want to be there.
yeah, I'll give you the link. The next
Yeah,
cohort starts in
sure.
March. And it's a mindfulness meditation class. But so people, about week 5 of the 9 weeks, begin to deal with, some of them haven't practiced enough. And we're really hard on ourselves, and we tend to quit if we think we're not there. And I was reflecting on that, and that even the thought I should practice is a mindful thought. In the moment that you think you should practice, you're in the presence of, you're in the present, you're in the presence of the moment. I could practice now, I should practice now. And we don't give ourselves credit for even thinking that. We beat ourselves up because we didn't do it, but we don't give ourselves credit for we had the thought. And when you taught your kids how to walk, I wasn't there, okay? But I promise you, the way children learn to walk is they wobble on their little teeny fat, cute little chubby legs, and they fall forward. And you cheer as if they took a step.
Mhm.
And you cheer because they fell. And however they fell on their ass or they fell on their face, you cheer as if they walked. And we don't do that with ourselves. We don't cheer every time we stand up and fall on our ass. We don't cheer because we had the thought I should work out. And clearly you're not going to get the muscles by just thinking about working out, but
Oh
you're
no.
certainly not going to shame yourself into working out. You're not going to shame yourself into enlightenment. You're not going to shame yourself into being present. And we're really good at shaming ourselves. We're masters at that. So giving that up and really acknowledging the victories where they are, that we thought about it, is it, it's worth celebrating that moment that you thought about it.
Yeah, it reminds me what you are saying, Aaron, that there are two ways of having a perspective about what's going on. And one is the gain, and the other one is the gap. And usually we are in the gap. Okay, it took me a lot. I need to move this and that. I'm in a first stage and I need to cover, I don't know how much in the plan or in the project or whatever. I'm always in the gap. And the gain is I'm not still there, but what do I gain in understanding about me or the project or whatever? What I do now see, what I learn, okay, what the mistakes it taught me. So it's not the same to put yourself in the gap. Always is a gap in between what you want and where you are.
Yeah.
But to put yourself in the gap is make yourself miserable. And to put yourself in the gain allows you to be more positive or the walking, the advancement, the things that you accomplish, and it puts you in a better place for the
Mhm.
next step.
Yeah, good. It's celebrating. See, even the gap itself,
Mm.
if you can get responsible for it, you put yourself in a gap. You're the one who said that future is important to you. The gap is super empowering from that view. The gap is no longer I'm a failure because I'm not there. No, no. I put myself in a gap. I said that's the birds over there. I'm going to move over there. Every time I take a step towards that, I'm in the gap, but I'm celebrating that I'm in a gap that I created because I said that's the direction I'm going. And it's again back to the journey, not the destination. It's back to there's never going to be a time where I'm not in a gap. I hope, I hope there's
Yeah,
always a
ever.
future that I want to have. It's when the gap shows up as imposed upon us, or as when the purpose becomes not to make gains or be in the game, when the purpose becomes not to be in the game but to win the game,
Mm,
That's the problem. Is like, no, yeah,
yeah.
for sure you got to play the game like you want to win it, but playing the game is the victory.
Hmm.
And you got
Hmm.
to play like you
Yeah.
do want to win it, but playing it is winning it. Playing it intentionally with that in the present, not in the, okay, when I
Yeah.
get there, then I get to celebrate.
Yeah, but disappointment and
Yeah.
frustration and don't feel you are where you want to be. It's the one that makes us that
Yes.
we forget about something we want, we quit because it's not a quick solution,
Right.
a fix. It's not high speed, and I love high speed, so because of that, we need to measure the steps and the advancement. Because
Absolutely.
if not, if we want to see everything change, it's going to take time.
Yeah. No, that's, it goes back to, I think Chris and I have talked about before. In Hebrew, there's a word dayenu, and
Mhm.
you say you use that word particularly. It's specific for, it means it would have been enough. And you, when you tell the story of Passover, when you tell the story of the Exodus
Mhm.
at Passover,
Yeah.
every year we tell the story of Exodus, and we you talk about, okay, had God freed us as slaves and not brought us to the Red Sea, Dayenu, it
Mhm.
would have been enough. Had he brought us to the Red Sea but not parted it, Dayenu. Had he parted it, not let us cross, Dayenu. Had he let us cross and not swallowed our enemies, Dayenu. Had he had us wander the desert and not provided manna, Dayenu. All the, every step
Mhm.
of the way, it would have been enough. And it took me 50 years before I got some empowering context around that, because as a young person, it just showed up for me like, what the fuck do you mean it would have been enough?
Yeah.
How would that have,
How much does it take?
it would not have been enough. It definitely would not have been enough. Except the idea is, and I read this, some rabbi wrote I found this eventually and I loved it, was it, the idea is to celebrate every step of the journey as if it were the whole journey and not wait for the end to celebrate,
Mhm.
which is what you're talking about. That every step of the way you celebrate as if it were the whole journey, which is the Esther Hicks definition of the ultimate point of attraction, which is completely satisfied and eager for more. Like you're in the gap, you're completely satisfied with what you have in the moment and you're eager for more. That's an orientation to the gap that's empowering.
Love it.
Yeah.
I
That,
buy it.
I think it's a
Yeah.
good combination of both the things we talk about here about mindfulness, like that in the gap, you could be mindful, helps you reframe the gap so that it's not an order to, like, this is
right.
either you put me back in the seat of agency. I'm choosing this because I'm authoring my life. And so it would take a mindful moment
Yes.
to get to that reframe. And I
Yeah.
think, Hilda, when you talk about happiness, I'm assuming in your work about transformation, it's similar. It's like
Yeah.
it's the happiness and being like, where can I find happiness in my body, in my experience of life right now, regardless of circumstance. I think there's a nice blend here happening in the conversation about happiness,
Oh, yeah.
mindfulness.
And I love the word reframing because it's everything.
Yeah. Right.
But because everything is the way you can look at things.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's great.
right.
So that does reframing.
Perfect. All right. That seems like a good point to
Love it.
wrap this. Hilda, if people want to get a hold of you, they want to find the book, they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to do that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I will love people to read Power Up because it's a great explanation of what happened to everyone that wants to change and what stops us and all the blockers and saboteurs and interferences and how life gets in our way and what we need to do to transform ourselves. So I will love to go to Amazon and to buy the book. And also, they can go to my webpage, www.hildefainsod.com, and they can go into LinkedIn and social media and leave a message there. And if they need a coach to move them from a place to a better one, reach me to
Fabulous.
hildafainsod.com.
Great.
Love that.
Well, Hilda,
Thanks,
thanks for
Hilda.
spending some time with us. This was a
Thank
completely
you.
fun conversation. I love being with you. It's a delight.
I love to be here. Thank you very much. I enjoyed.
Thanks everybody for listening. If you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to like the video and subscribe. If you're listening to it on a podcast, you know what? Leave us a review. Go ahead. Just go ahead and leave us a review. How many times we have to ask?
Every
uh,
time.
every time. That's
As
right.
ever as it needs.
That's right. As many times as it needs. And I guess Aaron, people want to learn more about living a grateful life in a fucked up world. Where can they go?
Yeah. So the next cohort starts on March 5th. It's going to be an weeknight evening, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 West Coast time. It's a free 9-week mindfulness meditation training called How to
Nice.
Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World. If you happen to be a real estate agent, I also have one just for real estate agents, just for people like me. And that's going to be starts March 11th, and that's from noon to 1. But
Yeah.
again, free
Nice.
mindfulness meditation training with how to live a grateful life in a fucked up world.
Love it.
Oh,
Love
and
it.
sorry, and where you can go to get that is for normies, the normal one for not real estate agents is at thegratefulbreath.com.
Nice.
And for real estate agents, you can go to the realtorsedge.com.
Love it. Awesome, gang. Thanks for hanging out with us here. We'll catch you in the next episode. And until then, be cool.